This is Allison Bales with Energy Vanguard. We're going to talk to him a little bit. Allison, you've been kind of at the forefront of the controversy on combustion air testing, and I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your view on the rater's role in this and whether we need to change the standards and whether it should be always part of it or whether they should just stick a carbon monoxide meter up there and take it from there.
Well, the standards are changing because of the combustion safety being added to the HERS Rater certification. This was something that came up 2 years ago at the ResNet conference in Austin. At the Trainers Roundtable, we talked about the comprehensive home energy rater, which included certification, which included combustion safety, and it was the overwhelming view of those in attendance there that all raters should have to know the combustion safety. It's important. So ResNet has worked to get that into the standards and rolled it out this year. There's some little hitches, of course, because they didn't actually get the requirement for the testing into the standard, so they've got some amendments out right now to get that in there. But that will be rolled out, so HERS raters will have to know the combustion safety, and it'll be part of the training and also what they do in the field. At some point.
Every time for HERS rating?
That's a little unclear right now. Well, we'll have to see what the standards committee comes up with there. They're working on that. It's not really part of the energy modeling, so it's not going to go into REM rate unless there's a new screen with check boxes saying you did the combustion safety testing for this house because it had gas appliances. So it's important stuff. Combustion safety is absolutely important. And as with BPI, the ResNet standard, as it is right now, relies on doing worst-case depressurization test and measuring spillage and the carbon monoxide in the flue and things like that. The worst-case depressurization test is a very interesting one. The Lawrence Berkeley National Lab has been doing some work about this, and they found that the worst-case depressurization test leads to a lot of false positives because you put the house, you turn all the fans on in the house, you open and close doors so you get the lowest possible pressure in the combustion appliance zone.
That may never happen.
Right. It may never happen, and then you measure to see if the combustion appliance still drafts properly or if it's spilling, backdrafting, and putting carbon monoxide in the air. So the worst-case depressurization has some problems, and Lawrence Berkeley National Lab's doing work, and they've pointed these out. Dr. V. Rapp and Dr. Brett Singer have done a lot of work on this. I heard V's talk 2 weeks ago. Brett Singer speaking here at the ResNet conference about the same issue, and it doesn't mean we don't need to do the combustion safety testing. It means that we need to be smarter about it. Number one, a lot of the problems that happen and that get discovered because of visual inspections or carbon monoxide detectors or monitors sometimes, which are very important.
So why not just go that route and make sure that the people have a properly placed, installed, and functioning carbon monoxide tester?
That's absolutely something that needs to happen. Carbon monoxide, and I'm a big fan of the low-level carbon monoxide monitors, not the UL-rated carbon monoxide detectors, because the UL-rated ones are, maybe not completely worthless, but they don't go off until you've got 70 parts per million of carbon monoxide for 2 hours in the house. Then it will alarm.
And you're saying that chronic low level could probably be just as damaging.
Yeah, there's research to show that chronic low level is going to be a problem too. And if you've got 69 parts per million, you could have it all day and it's not going to go off because it's got to be 70 parts per million for 2 hours. So the low-level monitors are the way to go. They will start showing you a visual display of the carbon monoxide in the air at 5 parts per million or 8 parts per million, and as the level goes up, it gives you different types of alarms, like a flashing light, and at 25 parts per million, generally they start giving you an audible alarm. So.
That's great. are we going to be all right in here? Or are they moving in? Do you think we're all right to talk about the next?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Now let's see. What were we going to?
QA.
QA. Okay. Recently, there's been some changes proposed in the way that ResNet is going to perform its quality assurance. Could you give us your thoughts on that and what you see coming down the line? Do you think there may be special companies that are just doing QA? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, these are just proposals right now, and actually, I don't think they're even really at the proposal stage. Right now, there are considerations. There's I'm on the Quality Assurance Committee for ResNet, and we are continually improving the standards for quality assurance, and ResNet has gotten better about doing quality assurance on providers. So providers are doing a better job of the quality assurance on raters, which is what needs to happen. And we need a lot more consistency in the HERS rating that a rater does in one area with one provider and a HERS rating that another rater does on a similar type of house through a different provider. So there's a task force now on consistency of HERS ratings, and ResNet is looking at some ways of improving things. And this task force is just getting off the ground. Well, they've had a task force that came up with a preliminary report. Now they've created some working groups to look at how we might get more consistency.
Now, not to put you on the spot, but how do you fall on having a separate company that doesn't have any financial interest doing the QA for the raters?
So one of the things that is in there is that ResNet is looking at having all quality assurance designees work as agents of ResNet. Whether that means employees or not is a different matter. This is all being worked out in the working groups, but it may end up that all quality assurance designees are employees of ResNet, and that basically does away with the provider model. Then it's just ResNet and raters, if that's the case.
Okay.
Because ResNet's doing all the QA.
Do you think that's a good idea?
Well, I don't think it's necessary, because here's another business model, and we're a HERS provider.
Right.
Energy Vanguard is a HERS provider, and we are one of a few in the country that does not do ratings ourselves. We do a small handful for Habitat for Humanity, but we do not. Our policy is not to compete against our raters.
Right.
So we are doing quality assurance on independent raters, and we uphold the standards as rigorously as we can. And well, that sounds a little weak. I mean, we uphold the standards rigorously.
I understand that, but you do.
But not all do.
And
I hear
so
reports, yeah.
the firewall maybe needs to be there, so it looks like, for instance, if I was a rater and a realtor, I certainly wouldn't do that in the same deal. Okay, there could be a perceived conflict, and I think we have to get away from even the perception of there being a conflict of interest.
Well, I think that the provider model can work. I think that companies like mine doing it right are the way to go. And also, what I've been pushing on the QA committee is ResNet needs to do more QA on providers, and they're getting there. This past year at the QA committee meeting we had on Saturday, Laurel Elam, quality assurance manager at ResNet, reported that out of the 107 providers that she looked at their reports for this past year, 31 of them were put on probation, and I think 6 were suspended. I believe that's the number. So, and this is new, and some of them, I think there were a couple that were revoked as well. So it is definitely improving, and that's the way we need to go. I think the independent provider model can work with more oversight from ResNet.